that got them. There is a sheet of paper that is called something. It's the one that says, stated and underlying reasons for opposition to the right to rest. And this is basically a summary of the things that we've found coming from the opposition in the past 2 years. So I'll just read them for those that don't have the paper. It's one key one, misconceptions about people experiencing homelessness and why people sleep, sit, eat, have belongings in public space. So these huge misconceptions, like Marcus was pointing to, around the ideas that everybody chooses to be homeless and that you're lazy and all this other crap. The second one we have listed here is the argument that rights aren't needed, only measures providing services or housing are worth supporting. This is a, excuse me, a huge piece of the way that the legislators are diverting this. They're diverting the conversation about our rights in public space to say, oh, we want to get homeless people into services. We have all of these shelters, we have all of these day centers, we have all this, blah, blah, blah. We're going to direct people into services. And they actually, and I think anybody who's on the streets here would like cringe at hearing this, they actually say that these laws help people get into services. They actually say that that having a camping ban that you know says you can't use a sleeping bag or a tent or whatever helps people get into services and get their life together. And that's the kind of crap that we have to call out. And that is one of the most vital reasons why it's fundamental that all of us, all the folks that actually know that that's crap, are speaking out and explaining that to the legislators so they know, no, when you go up to like wake me up at 3 in the morning and tell me to move, that doesn't suddenly mean that I like have a house. It doesn't work like that. Okay, and then
Beautiful.
the next thing is related argument. The argument that coercive laws are needed. I already said that. Argument that police help people experiencing homelessness. The groundless notion that each municipality has a unique set of circumstances around homelessness requiring local control over these issues. Now this is kind of a weird concept, but there's this thing called local control, and there's a number of cities that have a little bit more say in their city government to make independent decisions of the state. That, however, does not mean that they can overrule state law.
Or the Constitution.
Or the Constitution or other things. But this is an argument that we hear again and again. It's basically we have unique circumstances in our city. Fort Collins says this all the time. You guys need the Fort Collins speaks to this all the time. These Fort Collins people, yay, Fort Collins people. They speak to how we have unique circumstances in Fort Collins that means that we need to address this in a different way than other cities. That doesn't mean that you need to have a law that says you can't sleep outside. That's not what that means. That is not unique in Fort Collins. It's the same in Fort Collins as it is in Boulder, as it is in Denver, as it is in Pueblo. Everywhere you need a sleeping bag or a tent or whatever to survive outside. That's not unique to Fort Collins or to any other city. But they try to use that as a justification saying, we don't want a state law to be directing our city. We want to have our own local control. And then two more. One is the, the lack of will to provide sufficient housing for all, and the belief that this cannot be done, leading to the mindset that massive homelessness is a permanent problem that must be coercively managed and controlled and hidden. I think that is a very strong underlying belief. It's not something that they speak very much.
Yeah.
Most of these legislators won't say that. But we know underneath it is this belief they have that we're not actually going to address our housing crisis. And as Marcus spoke to earlier, we haven't always had this mass housing crisis. Before the 80s, We had more options. We had actually decent options for people to live indoors, but we slashed all that, lost all that, and now we have mass homelessness. So that was a recognition that no, we're not saying that we're going to like create mass homelessness. We already have mass homelessness. We're trying to address that by decriminalizing it and addressing our real housing needs. And then lastly is just the business/classes expectation for how public space should exist, and with the drive of development and profit. Just these, I mean, I think we all understand like the different mindsets of folks who are coming from these business rich worlds and folks living on the streets of like what actually what the public space should be for. I think, you know, when you're someone with a large amount of money that can go to a coffee shop or go to a restaurant or whatever, whenever you need to go to the bathroom or, you know, get something to eat, your idea of what public space is for is very different than if you're someone who is trying to find somewhere to pee and is, you know, eating your lunch outside or whatever. So that's a big ramble on things that we've heard over the past couple of years as opposition to the right to rest, and what the right to rest does and does not do. But now I want to try to transition us into how we all make this happen right now. This year we have so much more momentum than the past 2 years. Momentum keeps building for this. And no, it might not happen this year. None of us have to go into this with the illusion that it has to happen this year and it's going to happen this year. It might not. But that does not mean that it can't happen this year. And that does not mean that we should not put up every fight we can possibly put up to make it happen this year. So, that entails everyone in this room, and this is an awesome room of people, that entails everyone in this room doing work. There's things to be done. But before we get to the nitty-gritty of that, and before we get into a little bit of a conversation about the bill and about what questions and comments, concerns that folks have, I want to have Cindy come up to talk about the legislative process a little bit, because I think one of the things that shocks me most is how very little our society knows about how our government works. We really, as a society, stood back and passed it off to the
Been on autopilot
government,
for
to those
200 years,
people.
and now we've got the consequences.
Yeah. Saying that those people, the government is going to do it for us, and that's not going to work. That's not working. We need to change that. So we need to become the people that shape, that influence, that determine what's going to go on in the government. This bill didn't come from some fancy lawyer writing this. We worked together with lawyers to write this. It did come with collaboration, but we, the people, wrote this bill. And that's the kind of stuff that we can do. We brought this bill forward. We're going to see it through. But we need to know how that process works. So I'm going to introduce you all to Cindy. How do you say your last name? I'm so sorry. Sovai Miller, who is going, can I say your, she's going to be lobbying for us on this bill.